Hi, I'm Gareth Green, and in this video we're going to be thinking about alternative passing 6/4s. Now, before we think about alternative passing 6/4s, let's just make sure that everybody's happy about what an ordinary passing 6/4 is. Well, 6/4 is a way of describing a second inversion chord. Why? Well, if I take a chord like this, that's G major in second inversion. It's called a 6/4 because above the D, I've got a 6 and a 4th. So that's a second inversion chord. So what's a passing 6/4? Well, a passing 6/4 is when we have a second inversion chord that's kind of sandwiched between two other chords. And there are two standard procedures for using a passing 6/4. Here's one of them. When you use a 5 in second inversion between 1 in root position and 1 in first inversion. Let's just get our heads around this. If I go 1, 5 in second inversion, 1 in first inversion, then that 5 in second inversion is a passing 6/4. It's a 6/4 chord, a second inversion chord, passing between chord 1 and chord 1 in first inversion. I can also do it in reverse. I can go 1 in first inversion, then have my 5 in second inversion, then my 1 in root position. So that's one of the standard passing 6/4 procedures. The other one is this. When you use chord 1 in second inversion, sandwiched between 4 in root position and 4 in first inversion. So again, I'm in the key of C major. Here's chord 4. And then I have 1 in second inversion and I have 4 in first inversion. Or I go the other way around. 4 in first inversion, 1 in second inversion, 4 in root position. Those are the standard uses of passing 6/4s. And many musicians go through their entire lives just living with those standard passing 6/4s quite idyllically. Many musicians go through life without even knowing that the passing 6/4 exists. Well, there we are. It's a game changer if you're kind of writing and you want to know where to use these second inversion chords. Now, what I'm talking about in this video is, say you're happy using those standard passing 6/4s and you're thinking, well, are there other possibilities? Well, there sure are. I mean, one thing that you can do, for example, is you might be in the key of C major, and then you might say, well, what happens if I use a passing 6/4 in D minor? Well, why would I want to do that? Well, D minor is chord 1 in D minor, but it's also, of course, chord 2 in C major. So I could go 1 in D minor, and then I could go 5 in second inversion in D minor, and then 1 in first inversion in D minor. But those D minor chords are still chords 2 in C major. So I could be having a piece of music going along in C major quite happily. And then if I wanted to get to a point where I went to chord 2 and then have a passing 6/4 in D minor, because that's also chord 2 in C major as well as being chord 1 in D minor, I can then carry on in C major. So there you're using a passing 6/4 in a standard way, but you're using it as a kind of secondary dominant by using a chord in the prevailing key and saying, but that's also chord 1 in another key. So these are ways in which you can kind of colour your music by having a hint of another key in a sort of secondary dominant way, but kind of just using the diatonic chords of the key. What I'm now going to talk about is this. Here's a passing 6/4 that is not standard at all. And it's the first example I've got here where I'm going from 6 to 1 in second inversion to 4. So that's a funny one because obviously the first chord's 6 and the last chord's 4. So I'm not moving between the same chord in root position and first inversion. I've got two different chords. This is why it's non-standard alternative passing 6/4 really. But if I go 6, 1 in second inversion 4, sounds like this. which actually sounds quite pleasant, doesn't it? So you see how that works? I've got the bass going by step, A, G, F, but it's giving me an alternative way of using that 1 in second inversion before I go on to the chord 4. Now you have to handle these things with care. If you do that backwards, it doesn't work quite so well. That 6/4 on the middle there doesn't seem to pass quite so comfortably as it does when I do it this way around. 6, 1 in second inversion, 4. But it's just giving you another possibility for an alternative passing 6/4. And the other version I've got on this page is a sort of variant of the above. And all I'm doing this time, instead of using chord 4, I'm using chord 2/7 in first inversion. So a 2/7B or a 2/7/6. So I've got chord 6, 1 in second inversion, and then I've got 2/7 first inversion. Rather lovely sound. And you can imagine how that might go on. Something like that. So it's just to show you that there are other places in which you can use a passing 6/4. I mean, this all comes with a health warning, because if you start sticking passing 6/4s in all over the place, well, you might be in luck and they might work, or they might actually be a bit of a disaster. So the standard ones are there because they're safe. But here's an introduction to some alternative possibilities by kind of treating other chords within the key as the basis for secondary dominant, sort of going 5 to 1 or 5 in second inversion to 1 in this other key, where you can go 1, 5 in the other key in second inversion to 1 in first inversion, or vice versa, using this as a secondary dominant within the prevailing key rather than modulating to that other key. But here is something that is completely out of that box, but it just opens up other possibilities. So I'm just encouraging you to be imaginative. You know, if you can find passing 6/4s that are non-standard but work, such as these, well, why not use them in the right context? Partly it's a question of style. You know, would you do this in a Bach chorale? Probably not. But there are many places in which you might want to use them. And it just opens up more possibilities for the use of second inversion chords. We've got many other videos on passing 6/4s, on cadential 6/4s, using second inversions. So if this is a kind of new agenda to you, you might want to put it in the context of those other videos. But there we are. This is just sort of pushing forwards a bit on where else could I use a passing 6/4. Well, if you found this video engaging, let me invite you to the Music Matters website, www.mmcourses.co.uk. And in particular, if you click on courses, you could navigate your way to our oral dictation course. And this is a course which is all about empowering you to write down things that you hear. So for example, you might have heard this kind of sound of the alternative passing 6/4 that I've been talking about in this video, and just thought, I can hear that in my head, but how do I write it down? That's a really frustrating thing, particularly for composers and arrangers. So the oral dictation course is designed to empower your ability to hear things in your head or to hear sounds around you and be able to notate them. So it's dealing with rhythm, it's melody, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, alternative harmony as well as standard harmony. So it will really help you to be able to turn musical ideas into notation. So that's the oral dictation course. Lots of other things on the site as well. www.mmcourses.co.uk.